All right, welcome everyone to this week's coaching call. So today we had a really interesting conversation with a new patient coming in. And so just wanted to share some highlights about what that conversation looked like and just some takeaways that was the case for this person, but honestly, we see it all the time. And I think it's a really great conversation and something that will help you look at your own health and maybe take a little bit broader perspective on how things are all fitting together in your health journey. So this person came in and she had previously had some neck issues that seemed to kind of be a little bit under control. Now lower back was kind of flaring up a little bit more. Had gotten some muscle relaxers, which had helped, but didn't take care of the issue. And so since the problem had not gone away, she's in our office to kind of figure out, okay, what's going on. And so one of my overarching philosophies is let's look at the whole body because it's all connected. And what I found in practice and have found with a lot of other people is that one part of your body is drastically affected by all the other parts of your body. And so in my mind, it doesn't make sense to only address that one part of the body. And I think that's an oversight to the medical community in general right now, as it's extremely specialized. And I think there's some good sides and some downsides to that. If somebody goes to an orthopedic doctor and for lower back issues, they're really only going to look at that lower back. They're not oftentimes factoring in what might have initially caused that issue in the first place. And so, yes, you can get someone's lower back to maybe feel better, but unless you're addressing the underlying issues to begin with, it's going to come back again. And in my mind, the goal is to not just keep repeating that until it gets bad enough that they have to have injections or surgery, right? Like, let's fix the freaking underlying issue to begin with if you're still at a point where that can be fixed. Obviously, if I'm going to have back surgery, if I'm at a point where I need a significant medical intervention, then yes, I want the person who only does that thing. That's all they do. They're really good at it. However, if I'm not to that point, I don't want to get rushed to that point or just have to put up with whatever it is until I get to that point. So, and you notice this a ton on the nutritional side of things as well. In fact, you were having a conversation today that was very similar, just a little bit different scenario.
Yeah. You got my mind thinking of, digestive duress, or, when people come in and they've had a colonoscopy and, there's certain things showing up. However, we're just looking at a very specialized, we're just looking for very specific things and not necessarily the state of the microbiota of the gut microbiome. Like, we're not looking, yes, it's easy to say, ulcerative colitis. It's easy to say IBS, D. It's easy to say some of those things, and we're looking at that, but we're not looking at, what's happening really, with the pH and the intestinal wall barrier. We're not looking at maybe there's a huge overgrowth of candida. So, I love it when you say the problem is not the problem. The problem, the issue,
the
symptoms, right? It's not.
You want the symptoms to go away, but
right.
There's also what caused the symptoms in the first place. Not just here's a Band-Aid for the symptoms.
Exactly.
To manage that forever.
Ever and ever. But you can get much deeper in if you pull a lot of those layers back.
Yeah. So in the case from this morning, lower back pain, in my opinion, there's some issues in the lower back, but more so coming from the feet and ankles and gait, and issues with the neck and upper back. So those had been going on for much longer, and now we've got lower back issues that are, a concern. But if we just do some things to fix the lower back, the underlying real cause of what's putting stress in the lower back is feet and neck. And in the neck, we had a reversed curve, really significant arthritis and degeneration. And if we had only looked at her lower back, we would have really missed something that is going to be actually a much, much, much bigger problem down the road than her lower back probably will be. And so, my conversation with this person is, let's address all of these issues. Let's get your lower back feeling better. You're already doing some muscle work. Let's add some exercise into it. Let's do some work with your hips and pelvis. But honestly, we need to do a lot more work to your neck. We need to look at your feet and ankles. And then all of this is going to start to compound and feel a lot better. But if we're only looking at lower back, then we're missing a really, really big part of her health and the big picture on why she's having lower back issues to begin with.
It's fascinating to see that puzzle come together when you recognize, wow, we've got a reverse curve, in the neck, and how much pressure that now, how much more her head feels like, her skull feels like it weighs as a result of that reverse curve, and just the cascading effects that has, like you said, from the top down and the bottom up, and how that is a cascade, and what happens to her body as far as the way that it needs to compensate just to account for now how heavy her head feels. It's like fascinating, like, to see it.
Well, and as I'm walking through it and explaining it, she's feeling it in real life.
Right.
So her response was, I feel exactly what you're describing. I'm doing it right now.
I'm doing it right now, which was...
Her head's coming forward. She's leaning back a lot to compensate for that, so she's still standing upright. And now all of her body weight, which she wasn't overweight to begin with, but still, there's gravity and you have a body weight. It's all putting stress on a couple of little joints in the lower back. And over time, that just starts to wear out, and you get some degeneration that does begin to happen. And now you've got pain, but that's the tip of the iceberg.
That's right.
On what the real issues are that's going on. And you can take this concept and apply it to anything in the body, right? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, right? GERD, right? Like, just be on this medication forever because you have acid reflux. Like, that is really, how many people have you helped with acid reflux?
So much. And I don't mind. I don't want to, I could go on a real rabbit trail about that. So you might want to.
Yeah.
Right. I will go on a rabbit trail about that actually right now. I think it's really important. If you are on, any type of a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor to reduce acid reflux, please come and see me. We need to put a stop to the madness, because what a PPI does is it completely decreases or neutralizes or gets rid of any acid production in your stomach, which is really a very counterintuitive thought to me in my mind. And the reason that is because we need so much hydrochloric acid to break down our food, to break it down so we can actually use it for nutrient absorption, but it also creates the perfect pH balance in the system to ward off pathogens and viruses and bacteria and this microbiota that I'm talking about, this upside downness. How many people now have a candida infection or have a dysbiosis in the gut because they're so neutralized because they're not producing any hydrochloric acid. What's that going to lead to?
So their food is just sitting in the stomach and not being digested.
Putrefying and fermenting in the stomach, causing all sorts of chaos. Yes, sorry. And there is a way to... So usually it's, when we get acid reflux, by the way, it's not because we have too much acid in our system.
Most of the time it's too little.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
which is really for people like mind-bending, like, why am I on something that reduces acid if I actually don't have enough?
The reason you're having acid reflux is probably because, right.
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive.
Yes.
People would not typically know that.
No.
But I know you've seen it.
Yes, day in and
tons of times. There is a way to help that.
There is a way.
And so, in general, my message today is really like, let's start having a conversation of, if you're starting to notice something, sometimes, yes, you need to just address that one thing, but oftentimes it's a lot of other little things that have added up and may be happening in different parts of your body that are actually causing that issue. And it honestly does take your responsibility to find somebody who can and is willing to look at how this all fits together, not just here's a 5-minute appointment to talk about the one symptom that I have time to talk to you about today. Like, people are tired of that. They're like, the system is broken, right? Like, and I'm not saying I have the answers to that, but I do know a lot of people are getting disserviced because we're only looking at one specific symptom and not the whole person as a whole, and understanding how their health is actually fitting together. And you can take this a lot of ways, and this is why I'm the first person to say chiropractic is not the answer for everything. Nutrition is not the answer to everything. Exercising is not the answer to everything. Sleeping is not it takes you for yourself looking at how some of these things fit together, and it can be very overwhelming, right? Because social media says we need to cold plunge and eat 0 carbohydrates or eat only protein or eat only vegetables.
And now it's this whole starch thing. That's been coming up a lot now.
It's like we get inundated with messaging on everything we have to do in order to be healthy.
Be a vegan.
Right. And so it's like there has to be some balance there, and there has to be, really understanding, like, where am I starting at? What are my actual goals? Not just like, what's the Instagram person I want to look like, but like, what are my actual goals?
Right.
And, beginning to come up with a plan to begin to get there. And, obviously we're here for that, but, we're also not the only ones who should be part of that, right? You've got mental health, you've got a lot of other things, but in general, my encouragement to you is, don't just look at what the symptom is. You take a broader picture and understand how the whole system is fitting together, because this person was really amazed at how, wow, my feet are an issue, my neck was like, all of these other factors are actually what's causing my lower back. And now we get to address all of those things and not just make your lower back feel better. Right? Like, that's important.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons, but I feel a lot better. I know you feel a lot better when we're actually helping, empowering somebody to understand their body, and not just
that's such a good point.
here, let me fix this for you. No, it's, I want to teach you how these things are fitting together so that you can begin to discern and understand
Yes.
why you're having these problems.
Exactly.
And then what you can do about it as well.
Right. It's so interconnected. And to only isolate or address it, one thing is such a disconnected from your power approach. So really being able to lean into that. As you do x-rays, I'm always looking and I'm like, wow, like, you know, her spine, his spine, like this whole system is telling a much bigger story. And it's so interesting to watch it come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many other little messages inside this that we could go down, but in general, that's the big one. It's don't get too wrapped up into just treating, the one symptom that you have.
Especially if it's you're not having any alleviation in that area. That also was struck home for me today.
Sure. Yeah.
Keep on doing the same thing over and over, hoping it has a different outcome, but it doesn't, and it's not getting better. Know when to.
And that's a great sign, right? Like
branch out.
Muscle work is fantastic and should be part of the care, but if you're getting muscle work done for months and it's not like this, the issues are still there, then there's another factor involved, and oftentimes, what we see is there's structurally or inflammatory something else going on. And so I say the same thing. If I'm adjusting you and we're not seeing changes within 4 to 6 weeks, like, we have to address what else is going on. I don't want to just see somebody for years and years and years and them not actually improve or get better.
Right.
So we want to address those other factors with people. So hopefully this struck home a little bit with you today. I feel like a lot of people who come into the office are already like, yeah, I am more holistic. I do want to look at the whole picture. Mm-hmm. But some people just have really no idea where to start or how those things fit together. And so, if we can help you with that journey, then we're happy to do that. And if we can't, we're very honest and we'll at least help point you in the right direction of somebody that can. But keep that in mind this week, and start to pay attention to how the rest of the system all is connected to everything else. It's all interconnected, right?
That's right.
So until next week, have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.